Hey, it's Kevin DeWitt here. Welcome to another plugin knowledge session. In this session, we're going to check out a plugin called Perception AB from MeterPlugs. So firstly, if you are new to my channel and new to my videos and you like what you see, please click the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell to be notified of all my future videos. So Perception AB from MeterPlugs. This is a plugin that has developed over time from the original Perception plugin that I have a video on my channel here already with that one. And it was a plugin that was developed by mastering engineer Ian Shepherd. And he obviously worked with MeterPlugs to get it made. Originally, it was designed primarily for mastering. And there's been obviously a lot of requests to him for it to be enhanced to do mixing. And that's exactly what they've done. So in this version here now, you do mastering and, with a little bit extra, it's gone to another level, and also use it in mixing sessions now. So let's get into it and I'll show you how it works. Okay, so here we are in Cubase. Now this mix here that I have is very simple in the point that, well, it's not simple, but it has one main plugin which has lots of modules in it. So it's not necessarily the best example for how this plugin would be used, but we can change that pretty easily. So we're going to start with the simple form here, and I think I'll start with drums. So how about we start with, we'll do the overheads. Now what we want to do is we need to get a space. So I'm going to move the plugin down. And we're going to start by loading in Perception AB. And when we do this, we get a few choices here. Okay, so we're going to run through these choices. We'll start with that now. Okay, so our selections here for the plugin, obviously, as you can see, are pre, post channel, and post master. Okay, so the general concept here is that if we place the plugin before our processing plugins, we're going to select pre. All right, so in this case here, I would select pre, which I will do. Then what we can do is place another one at the end of the plugin chain on the same track, and we can select that as post channel. So this is our mixing approach. Now, if we wanted to do mastering instead, what we would do is we would place this plugin on, say, the end of the chain, the master bus, the mix bus, whatever you want to call it, and we select post master, and then we would place an instance of this plugin in pre mode before any processing on each song. So that way we could switch between songs and check out the levels between it, right? Because it's a lot simpler. We're just not doing multiple tracks here, we're doing multiple songs. So in this case here, we're looking mainly at mixing. So obviously I have done a video on Perception before, which was the older version, which I'll pull up here. Now, it's still a valid plugin, and I don't know if this one is meant to totally replace it or what, but it seems it can. And in that one there, you had a source and a controller, right? So you would place the source at the start of your processing. So this would be before any processing and, on the song. So this was designed for mastering back then, right? It was not catered for mixing. And then you place the controller, which looked like this, at the end of the chain. So on your master channel, whatever else, right at the end. And you could do your level match and that sort of thing from there. Okay, so as I said, I don't know if this is supposed to totally replace it or, because it still works. So there's nothing wrong with that. But obviously this is, the new version, and it seems to do the same sort of thing, but maybe more advanced. So we're going to put pre on that one there. Okay. And then what we do is we place one after it. And in this case, we'll pick post channel. Now it's going to go and do some analysis. So it's obviously looking at the pre one and doing a comparison there. All right, so let's run through a bit of the controls here. All right, so if we look here already, we've got pre here, and this is indicating what the level is in LUFS prior to any plugins, etc. So this is just, you know, the very start of the track. Now, I don't know if you need to play it to get it accurate. Yes, okay, we do. So if we just solo this is what it's listening to. Okay, so I'll stop it. I hope it stays. Yeah, it does. Okay. So you can see it. It's obviously written in this instance here, and then it's written in the main one. I mean, you could hide this one. We could close it down so we don't see it, but I'll leave it there for the moment. So we can see here it's minus 20 LUFS or LUFS, whatever you want to call it, prior to any plugins. And then the next one is the post, which is showing us what the level is, again, in LUFS after the processing. So in this case here, this plugin is creating a gain of 0.9. Okay, now what we could do is, I'm just going to move this down. So let's just add in a few more plugins, right? So let's add in distortion. All right, we're gonna create some bit of noise here. Let's turn that auto gain off. Let's leave it on. All right. Okay. So it's analyzed it again, right? And now that we've added that plugin there, we can see that it's minus 12.4. Let's add in some more. Let's chuck in a compressor. And let's just pick one. Pick any one you like. Let's go with a FET presser from PSP. Well, actually, we've already got PSP plugins in there. Hang on. Let's go for a UAD, 1176. Maybe. Oh, here we go. Jeez, thought it locked up then. All right, let's compress this a bit, or a lot. Okay, so normally what I like to do is level match my plugins myself. But let's say you're not the sort of person that does that, okay? Or you have a plugin that doesn't have that ability. So this now is supposed to give us the ability to listen to the before and after without any level changes, so we can get a true and accurate measurement of this. So we can reset this so that it comes up again. I'm not sure what the X is for. We'll find out in a minute. So this is what the reading is, as I said. Okay, so we've got a pre and a post, right? And you can see the values are different. So now what we can do is we can click on match level. All right, and now in theory, it's tried to make them the same level there. Okay, so these two red buttons here, as I've stated, okay, so this circle arrow one is to reset the loudness button, so the calculation of loudness. So if we reset that, it resets what it's calculated. The cross one here, you can see there's a gain here of plus 2.5. Now, so that was what it did when it level matched. If we click that, we can get rid of that as well. So we're starting from scratch. All right, so you can see the match level was disabled there for a little bit until it gets an accurate reading. Then we can click it. We can determine that it's added 2.4. Okay, and then what we can do is we can, in theory, click between these two to hear the difference, right? So this is pre-plugins, and this is post. so we can accurately hear the difference in our mix without level gains. Because if I was to say disable, let's disable those two plugins, okay? Now, the other way to do this, let's say I was to disable these plugins. All right, and then I said, okay, well, I'm gonna now enable the plugins. Now, can I accurately determine the difference if the level jumps up a lot? So let me just boost that to make it even more obvious. Right, there's an obvious volume increase. So comparing before and after is not very practical in this state. So let's just clear this again. We'll get it to level match again. Okay, so you can hear that actually boosted that up, boosted the pre up. So now in theory, you can accurately, you can keep readjusting. Okay, so we've got some more options here. So you can see, obviously, it's as simple as that. If you want to do this on a mix, right? So simple. Now, what we've got is some other options here, right? Is that the level gain can be adjusted to suit certain things. So it was set to post. Okay, and what that means is that it will adjust the pre-level to match the post. I guess the reason it defaults to that is because if you were doing your mix, the assumption is that the level of the track, you've got to the right level after the plugins. So it makes sense to boost the pre to match the post because that's going to gel in your mix more. If you were to do it the other way and set it to pre, right? So if we match that way, what it's going to do is cut the post. So it's now dropped the volume instead quite a lot to match the before. But what that means is if you wanted to actually compare this in your mix, it's going to throw the balance of your track off because it's going to have dropped the volume. So there might be cases for doing that, but I don't know if it's that relevant, to be honest. Now, the other one you can do is reference. And what you can do with that is you can set an LUFS target and have them match to that. Now, in this case here, what it's doing is it's boosting the pre and dropping the post. Okay, so this value over here is what they're calling the current match loudness. So it's the loudness that you're using to match. Now you can see here when we go into reference, it's gone to a default to minus 16 LUFS. We can change that to whatever we want. Okay, but if we go into pre, all right, what we're then basing it on, again, is what the results of the post is. So now it's changed itself to match the post. If we set it to post, it'll be the other way around. And it will set it to pre, which is minus 15.5. Now, something that may also be useful is this sync button here. So I don't know if you need to use it all the time, but basically what they're saying is that it's to sync any delay with the plugin before or after. And it basically just says if you hear any clicking or stuttering when you're switching. So, you know, you could determine maybe that does stutter. That what you could do is go sync. So it's determined there's a 27 millisecond delay going through the plugins, latency. So you hear that now, gives a much smoother switch. Now, if you add any more plugins after the fact or during, or remove any, then you will need to resync this, as you know, to get it back in sync. Because, you know, each plugin obviously has its own level of latency. So you need to adjust that to suit. Okay, so it does actually state in the manual that you only really need to do this sync button if you add or remove plugins after the fact. It indicates that it, when applied, it automatically does a calculation and applies a delay compensation. Now, it could be the fact that when I first had this on, I only had this PSP and finish strip, which maybe didn't have any latency. Let's just see. No, it still says the same, but that could be, hang on, can we move them out? Okay, let's try it again. Yeah, okay. So when I first applied this, it was only looking at the Infinity strip, which is zero latency processing. And it's basically stating it's true. It is zero latency. Okay. But when I added, so it'll do that calculation on startup. But when I put these plugins back in, that would throw that out of whack. All right, it'll sort of stutter a bit now. So if I resync it, we now know that there's 27 milliseconds added. So it'll decide that as we go. Now, just to prove a point, I'm going to remove the plugin. I'll remove it from both start and finish. And then I will add it back in. We'll go pre and then add it back in as post channel. And yeah, see, it's syncing. So it just says it straight away. So as soon as you add it, it syncs and it's calculated the delay compensation there. So that's good. So it does it automatically. So if you just make any adjustments like removing plugins or adding any, then you'll just need to resync it. All right, so from a single track point of view, that's as simple as it is, right? It's very simple. But you can see here, we've got some more stuff here. We've got pre-1 listed here. You'll see that says pre-1, and we've got bypass all. All right, so obviously if I click bypass all, at the moment it's just switching between the two. So let's have a look at what that all means. All right, so what I'm going to do now is, let's say we are going to add in our kick track here. So I'm going to add, again, perception in pre, and I'm going to add it to the post channel. So it's going to automatically detect. Okay. And we can solo the kick. So let's just say we do the same thing. Now it's automatically gone up and said pre-2. So let's match it. And now we could do it before after. All right, now let's open up the other window. So if we've got both going here, we can compare before and after individual tracks, or we can bypass all. So we might have our entire drum track on this. Let's just do that for the sake of it. And that one there. All right, so I have removed them all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add it to 1. But I'm not going to change the setting right this second, right? I'm not going to set this up. I'm now going to copy and paste it onto each of these. And hopefully they all come up in that state. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is, okay, so I'm going to do that one mode first, right? Okay, and what I'm going to do is if I hold the shift key, you'll see it changes to pre-all or post-all. So this states that it will apply this setting to all unassigned plugins. Okay, so if I've got these already assigned, then they should not get changed. But if they're unassigned, then they will get changed. Now, just for a comparison, I'm going to copy one of them down here. And this one here, I'm going to set to post. Now, it says you want to do your pre's first, but I'm just going to set that to post for the moment, just to prove a point. So I'm going to go all, and I'm going to go pre. Now, what it should have done, if I can click, it should have set all of these to pre. And they should all be numbered sequentially, which it looks like they are. So that is the actual, that's the better way to do it. Now, if I open this one, you can see that it is still set to post, which is great. Now, once you've set this, I don't see a way to actually change it if you wanted to. Now, we might find out there is a way in the manual, but let's go back to this for now. All right, so now what I'm going to do is the same thing. I'm going to copy this across before I make any changes. Let's hide that for a minute. Okay, and now I'm going to go all post. So this one's now set to pre-1. Okay, pre-2. 3. Well, that was 5. I missed one, obviously. Hang on, did I jump? Oh, stop bypassing. Yeah, there's 4. All right, so they're all getting set appropriately to their correct channel with their correct pre-number. Beautiful. All right, some other interesting things that you might want to do with this plugin is that you could, you're not limited to putting this at the end of the chain. You could only want to compare one. I am going to take this UAD plugin off because it's really slow at the moment. I don't know why, but it's annoying me. So we could actually say, all right, I'm going to leave decapitator down there. I just want to compare these. So we could then have our pre here and our post after that. And let's just get rid of the solo for a minute. Let's go back to the drums. So you can see now it's very similar level. We should check the sync again because now we should be back to 0 milliseconds, which we are. All right, now we're only comparing before and after the PSP and finish strip. We're ignoring decapitator. Okay, so we could do that anywhere. We could do it in groups. You could have 2 plugins, 3 plugins, whatever you want, or just one, as I've shown you. You can just put this anywhere you like and compare that plugin alone. Okay, so if we want to have a look at a mastering type setup here, right, there's going to be different ways to do this depending on your software. But let's say, for instance, here we're in Cubase and I've got 14 songs here. I'm going to use a similar process I did before where I'm going to load up this and I'm going to not pick anything. Okay, then I'm going to copy it. I'm holding the Alt key down while I drag, click and drag, and it's going to copy it across. I do it one at a time. Now, there's other ways to do it with quick links and all that sort of stuff. But I put them across, then I press the Shift key, get this all to come up, and I'll go pre. Now, if I clicked on all of these, you would see that all sequential, but I'll just show you the last one here. So it comes up as 14. So we know that's there. Now we go to our main mix bus here, and then I'm going to add it as a post master. Okay, so it looks very similar, but slightly different. All right, what's changed now is before we had this bypass all button down here, now we have auto and solo. Okay, so the auto button is supposed to attempt to automatically switch to the right pre based on what's playing. Now, from what I can tell with this is not going to work in something like Cubase. Now, we might try this in Wavelabs and see if that's going to work. I'll try that after we've done it this way, but you may not have Wavelabs and you may master in this sort of in Cubase, right? So if you lay them out as individual tracks, this auto function is not going to work because I can show you what it's going to do. So if I just play. Now, in the case of a master, it's actually changed to a reference and picked an LUFS value here. Okay. But that can come up with a warning because it's going to do a massive boost increase in this case. So I could just change it to post. And that way I don't get that because I've got these all dropped in volume. Okay, because I don't want it loud personally, not now. I'm not actually mastering. If I was mastering, maybe you would want it set to reference. And that way, and you would set that reference to the value that I guess you like to master at, and that way you could use it for numerous reasons. You could not only level match, but you could also see how much your song is not not loud enough or too loud compared to the reference volume. But again, let's go with that. So if we match levels, now if I switch, it switched to a different song and it's going to pre-2, right? Which is not really, now it's confused. It doesn't know what it's doing. Okay, so it's not really working in this regard. And that would be because if I look at the thing here, all of the tracks are here. Okay, there's no way for it to tell if they're playing or not. Now, if I moved them all out of the way, like had them follow after each other, could it do it then? Maybe. What I'm going to do is I'll select all of these. And let's just get it somewhere to the end there. Yeah, we'll get it in closer. Get it line up right to the end. Okay, now select all the other ones again. And let's just get them out of the way. Okay. Right, so they're out of the way. Just imagine that I go and line them all up consecutive here. All right, and we're going to solo. And we'll just test with these first two. So let's go back in here. And let's open this up. Okay, so it thinks it's pre-1. So then when we get to the end of this, I'm curious to see if it automatically switches to pre-2. So long fade out. Yes, it does. Okay. So it will work if you line up your songs sequentially. Now you'd have to go through and level match again. So let's do things a bit quicker. So let's say let's do a big... So let's just stop for a second. Let's pause. Bit loud in my ears there. So in theory, we should be able to jump very quickly. So if I jump back here, all right, let's level match. What I want to see is the level matching process. Does it automatically remember the LUFs, right? So at the moment, it's saying minus 22.9, right, is what it's doing, and it's doing this pre-gain here. So automatically different value. Now the advantage here would be if we had it set to reference. Now I'm going to go down just so it's quieter. Going to go down to minus 24, right? You would obviously not use this value if you're mastering, right? But let's just do that for the sake of it. Now, the theory is, now, if I switch between songs, not only can we do a before and after comparison of the actual songs themselves and the processing, but we can even have our songs balanced. So it'll give us a good indication in the mastering process of how are our levels. You know, so in the case of here, you can see we've got different values here. Now that says to me that they're not matched. So we can do a before and after. Now, obviously, I haven't got any processing on here. So we would have to add stuff. Okay, so let's just go back and do what we did before, where we add decapitator. Get this stupid auto thing off. All right, so we're going to see, oh, does it sound good if we add distortion? What if we add something else, something weird? Some sort of effects, I don't know. Vibrato. I don't even know. Not listening to it, so I don't even know what that's going to sound like. But let's just say we do something like that, okay? No, we'll leave it on there. Okay, that's after decapitator. Does it sound better? I think it sounds better before myself. What about this one? Okay, that vibrato is not doing anything. Should it not? There we go. Now, what we probably should also be doing is doing a sync, because I just added plugins. So we'll sync that track, 5 milliseconds. Let's go back to pre-1. Now, it seems to be that you should play it first, because otherwise it doesn't change over. And we'll just do a sync again. Uh, 1 millisecond, that's fine. Okay, so it's post, pre. Pretty clear which is the better one. It's an interesting effect. Okay, so there you go. That's that one. Now the other option is the solo button. Okay, so that would work more in regards to, say, this approach where they're all stacked on top of each other. And we go solo mode, we can actually select which pre we want to listen to. So if I was on pre 1, I'm going to hear anything because there's no track there, right? Hang on. It's not going to work if I don't actually allow Cubase to play them. So I'd have to solo all of these. Now, normally these would all play at the same time. It'd be a giant mess. All right, just level match. Okay, but now I can switch between songs at my own leisure to compare. Ideally, you'd go through and have them all level matched to a reference. So it gives you the beauty of a couple of things. One is that not only can you do your pre-post change, keep in mind there's no plugins on these ones, but also allows you to quickly switch between, which might be quicker than what you can do in your own software. So if you wanted to listen to them in comparison and do a volume match for your mastering sessions, to say I want to match all my volumes across all my tracks to get the album balanced, or check the EQs, you know, does it sound like the songs are in the same EQ vibe, you know, for the album? You can use this to quickly switch between. So it's a really good approach. I mean, you can see how quickly I can do it. Right, you can just quickly flick between. And also, not only can you hear if there's volume change differences between each song, you can see them, because you can see what perception is doing from a volume, from an LUFS. So we could tell you. Now, you're not going to, I would never state go and use this plugin and make sure that you set the LUFS to be exactly the same, right? Because LUFS is it's a calculation. To me, you should still use your ears, because certain songs just, you know, we hear things not always the same. We don't hear them the way that measurements always measure things. So use it as a guide. Obviously, you could say, okay, well, that one there, we're doing minus 4.5 on the post. That one we're doing minus 3.4. So maybe I could boost it a little bit in the plugin or something or whatever to get it up to, you know, whichever way, to drop it down, boost it up. But again, still use your ears, okay? Because sometimes those differences are actually needed, okay? But if there's a huge difference, that's totally different. Then you'll want to adjust things. Right, so you can see the power of that, you know, and you could use this plugin any way you like, right? There's lots of ways to use it, but obviously these are the main ways to do it. And, you know, it seems to work very well. You know, it surprises me how well it's doing it. And just some of these functions of doing this with the stacked approach or having it auto with laid out. So, you know, I can switch between, how do you, oh, you got to turn solo off first before you can go auto. Okay. What if you have nothing selected? What does that do? Plays them all. Okay. So if you turn off solo and don't have auto on, then it will play all anyway. That's great. So let's just go auto. Oh, got to get that decapitator off. It sounds horrible because I've gone berserk with it. All right, so hopefully that's given you a good run through of this plugin. I like it. I had the original version as well, and this one just adds even more to it. Even from the mastering point of view, you know, it's the way they've structured this from a mastering point of view. It almost says to me that it does supersede the old plugin. Now, that may be deliberate, but they did give it a new name. So, you know, you can keep using the old one if you wish, but I think I would be switching over to this because this functionality of switching between songs is really good and leveling each song on an entire album. It's fantastic. So there you go. That is Perception AB from MeterPlugs and Ian Shepherd. Let me know what you think of it in the comments below. Do you have it? Do you use it on your mixing sessions? How do you think it's... Did you use the original and do you like what they've done with the new version? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you do have any questions about it, please feel free to put it in the comments as well. Love to help wherever I can. Again, if you like what you see here, please click the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell to be notified of all my future videos. Hopefully the video has been helpful. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.